Hello and welcome back to the I'm Glad You're Here podcast. My name is Greg Sharp. Today's episode is Bret Hayden. Bret is a good friend of mine in Michigan comedy, and he produces the Comedy Rumble comedy shows that happen all over the state of Michigan. That's a comedy contest between 30 comedians doing 90 seconds of comedy each, and the winner at the end of the night goes home with the championship belt. If you ever have the opportunity to see one of those shows, don't miss it. It's always a great time. It moves real fast, and it's a good opportunity to see so many comedians all in one place. That's the Comedy Rumble. Check him out on social media. This is the sixth and final episode that I recorded up at the Traverse City Comedy Fest. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about that already. This was about a month and a half ago at this point, but this was another great conversation that I had up there with my friend Bret, and I can't wait for you to see it. I just want to take some time to thank all of you that have supported this podcast already by liking and subscribing and leaving comments and reviews. I thank you all so much for that. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to do so. Please like, subscribe, wherever you're watching or listening to this. All of that engagement really helps this podcast get to as many eyes and ears as possible, and I thank you all so much. The comments and the reviews really go a long way towards helping this podcast reach more people, so thank you all so much. But let's get on with the show. Without further ado, here's Bret Hayden. Traverse City Comedy Fest here with the very talented Bret Hayden. How are you, sir?
I'm good, buddy.
I'm glad
How
you're
you
here.
Doing? I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. We are here on it's Friday morning.
It is.
It feels we've only been here for like 2 days, but it feels like we've already been here maybe 3 days.
Yeah, no, I've been here since Tuesday, so I've been here.
That's right. You have been here since Tuesday.
Yeah.
But yesterday was sort of like our, I don't know, for a Thursday night, it was kind of a busy night.
Yeah.
So the first night of the actual first night, even though there was a show on Wednesday, just one show on Wednesday, man, I turned in pretty early yesterday.
I mean, it was a long day. I mean, everybody was still up at, 9 a.m. doing stuff.
Right.
Going around town.
I was here recording several episodes yesterday. I got the Louis episode in the can now. That one's ready to post, edited all night. So now I'm kind of dragging today.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling it too. And I'm like on my third cup of coffee. It's just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe just because it's cold outside and you have to walk everywhere for the most part. If you don't want your car valeted.
That's kind of where I'm at too with the valet. It's like I don't mind the valet, but I don't want to get my car out every single time I need to go somewhere.
It happened like 6 times the first night I was here, where we kept getting the car, and I was just like, this guy's gonna get sick of us.
Yeah, and now I'm like avoiding doing things because I don't want to get the car.
I kind of like the walk. Like, I mean, where we're sitting right now, it's like we have a podcast with a view. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I should have opened the window.
Yeah. Oh wait,
it's a beautiful day today too. I haven't been outside.
How long's this mic cord?
Oh, it'll go almost over there. You're gonna open?
Oh, right. I'm gonna do it.
Look at you. I don't know how it's gonna show up on the camera, but we'll at least get some natural light in here on us. Oh, you broke it.
No, I didn't.
There we go.
All right, hold on. It's one of those.
It really doesn't want you to do it.
It doesn't want. Maybe it's fixed.
Maybe it's just you.
Maybe it's just I'm weak.
Look at that. You are.
Maybe it's just you're better at multitasking.
I do like the natural light. Look, it's a beautiful day out. Oh, we should have done this outside.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to affect the camera. Ooh, I could actually, it is long enough. I could do this, too.
You could just go take a little peeky there. I don't know if it's going to tell you very much. It
still looks all right. Yeah.
We're all right.
I like the natural light.
I think we're doing okay.
Makes me look even more dehydrated.
So did you perform yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, you were on the show that I was on.
Yeah, Daily Dozen.
I forgot you.
Yeah. Oh, no. The best 2 sets of the night were like Zach and Richard.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody else did fine.
It was a really good show, though.
Yeah, it was a good show. Old-ass crowd.
A little bit, yeah. There was that one guy who was enthusiastically not laughing at anything up front.
The young guy?
The guy wearing the baseball cap.
He looked younger comparatively.
He was a younger dude, but yeah, he was happy to be there, but you couldn't get anything out of him.
He might just be like introverted or just like an autistic guy.
I had the weirdest heckle during my set, and it kind of threw me off because I do that line. my bacon and titties joke, because those are my 2 favorite things, and 3 if you include bacon. And as I said the bacon line, a dude in the front row held up a piece of bacon. He was eating bacon in the front row. That's a weird heckle.
That's a weird heckle, but it's also weird. It's like, was that provided by the bar, or do you just have loose bacon?
I think he snuck in bacon. I don't know where it came from. It looked like he was just eating bacon out of his lap.
I was going to say, I don't even know. Do you have to even sneak it into that point? If somebody's eating a piece of bacon walking
Who's
into
gonna
like a
stop a
comedy
guy
show, I
carrying
would
bacon
feel weird
around?
being like, hey,
Hey,
can
you
put
can't
that,
come in here with your bacon.
you
No,
need to throw
no
that
outside
out.
bacon allowed.
Yeah. Yeah,
It-
that's a weird one.
It was such a specific, like, it wasn't even a verbal heckle. It was just, this is my bacon. You want my bacon?
I haven't really thought, like, the crispier the bacon, it travels well. It
does.
makes sense to, like, snack on
Well,
it.
you know that Kyle Kinane bit about flying next to somebody who pulled out, somebody who was
It was loose something.
eating pancakes out of a bag.
That's what it is, yeah.
Loose pancakes in a bag.
Yeah, you're not gonna intervene.
You might get me on board with some loose bacon in a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just such a very interesting and specific thing where I like caught it out of the corner of my eye, and then like he kept holding it so like until I saw it.
Yeah.
He wanted me to see his bacon.
Yeah, I feel like crispy bacon in like a popcorn, like one of those old school like popcorn bags.
Oh yeah.
That sounds like it would be great. Just like, almost like you have like a bag full of breadsticks or something. You
Yeah,
just
like a microwavable bacon bag.
Yeah.
You might be onto something here.
Yeah, crispy bacon bag.
What did
There
we
you
just
go.
invent?
I don't know. Get on it,
It's not a
Shark
bad
Tank.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah, the crispy bacon bag.
So what has your experience been here? Did you go to any of the there was workshops this morning. Did you go to the workshop?
I actually didn't. I had been asked if I wanted to sit in on one of them, but I just like, it's one of those things where, and this is, where I wish I was better in the moment, but like I have very specific opinions on how to do certain things that I just kind of like, if somebody has something that's slightly different and I don't see where they're coming from, I would just, in my head just be like mad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know, it's tough. There's like certain things that I think are across the board important for all comedy shows, but I know everybody has their own interpretation of something that, more often than not these days I disagree with, and I just don't want to be part of that.
Well, one of the seminars today was it was like stand-up basics, or I don't even know what they called it. It was like a
Stand-up 101.
Stand-up 101. And I don't know, we're all here at the festival for a reason.
Yeah.
Who are they preaching to in there?
It would be funny. It's just like if you don't get in the festival, it's mandatory you go to this.
Yes. Otherwise, you're not allowed to come hang with us.
Stand
at
Up
the after
101.
parties.
Here's why you didn't get into this festival.
That's actually maybe that's a request for next year's festival. Hey, you should have a workshop on how to get into the festival.
This specific festival.
This specific festival.
Have $50.
There was a lot of I'm sure you were aware of it. Actually, I don't know if you would have been because you're not on social media like the rest of us. But there was quite a bit of hurt feelings about the festival this year.
Yeah, that's gonna come with any
I
festival
think so
within
too.
your
I
own
think that's
state.
pretty natural.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's only natural to. Okay, I'll give an example about myself. Because this was when I was just a few years in, and I'm only 5 years in now. So this was, I guess it was it was about 3 years ago. But there was a festival where I hadn't applied to very many. So this is, I didn't really know what to expect. But I got a notification that I was accepted to the festival. And I was, thrilled, obviously, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And this was a good festival, too. I'm not going to name it by name. And then I posted it on Facebook or whatever. Look what I accomplished. I'm so great. And then like literally as I hit post on that one, I got a second email from the festival saying, "Hey, we're really sorry about that. We accidentally included you on the list of people that was accepted. Right now you're on the wait list." So I was told that I was in first, and then I was told that I wasn't in.
That's somehow worse.
It's a little bit worse, but I do remember that feeling of like, oh, I want to go online and I want to bash this festival. I want to tell everybody how terrible they are.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. I had it like in my drafts ready to post,
Yeah.
but something stopped me from doing it. Because what does that accomplish?
Yeah, I don't know. I've tried to get to a place where like I feel indifferent about that kind of stuff. Like it's funny. is it Alicia or Alicia from Funny Business?
yeah,
Has been around all weekend. I've been recommended to Funny Business like 10 times, and nothing's come of it.
I'm the same.
And, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's not sour grapes, but it's just kind of like weird just seeing. It's like, and I'm sure it's not like a directly her-based thing. Like, I've been around long enough, when it was like the Yoders. It's a group of brothers who were like booking it. I think she's the new one. I don't know how long she's been doing it, So like I meet her the other day and I'm just like, nice to meet you. And like, I don't have the heart to be like, hey, even if, you like anything you saw, I don't want to drive 5 hours for $75 with no hotel.
Oh yeah, I leave every door open until I can say sorry. I'm not going to do that for you.
I've also had Funny Business blocked on everything for like 4 years. So even if she was just like, I'm going to look this guy, huh?
Well, I obviously I've submitted some stuff to her. I've sent her my clips and reached out a few times. And when she came up to me the other night, she's like, "Oh, it's so great to finally put a face with the face." Because she remembered me, obviously, from whatever I've submitted.
Yeah.
But didn't remember me enough to let me know that they needed me to do anything for him either. So I never heard back.
I kind of did that thing where, like, she walked up, I was polite. I was just
she
like,
remembered
nice
me, but I'm sure she also remembers that she didn't request my services.
Yeah. Like I said, like, it's not sour
It's
grapes.
all part of the
just
business.
Like, I'm not.
It is, and that's a part of this business that I think a lot of people don't really come into it understanding, and they have to learn it the hard way, is that it's a lot of rejection.
Well, it's also people, you think about comics, a lot of them, whether they're going to admit it or not, they have egos, they're narcissists, they weren't hugged enough as a kid. They want attention some way.
Yeah.
For me, I like, the validation of something I've been writing or whatever, just, people laughing at it. I do like making people laugh, but admittedly, like, the main reason I got into stand-up is just, like, my own, I like writing jokes, and I like, the validation when it goes well.
Oh, yeah. There is a lot of validation that comes along with what we do.
Yeah.
But I think to take any of the rejection personally is really, you're just going to tie yourself in knots about it. And most of the rejection that you get is really from indifference. It's not anything to personally do with you. It's more like, sorry, we just didn't need you, or we don't know you well enough to put you on our it's very
always,
rarely anything perfect.
It's never anything personal, but sometimes it's hard to read it, especially if it's like, this year it's people, submitting to a comedy festival within their own state or city. So, it's harder to not take it personally, but you just kind of have to remove yourself from it. Be grateful for, the people who do give you stage time, and then just, hopefully as time goes on, prove people wrong.
Right.
People love to be proved wrong, whether they want, And for me, there's stuff like I've wanted to be part of and, didn't get. And then just kind of time went on. And then by the time I did get that thing, the show I wanted to get on was better because, they had more time to figure it out. Or the festival I wanted to get on was better because, they had more time to figure it out. So it is really, some people are just impatient, but really the bright side of some things is just like, that patience can pay off.
It can pay off, and a lot of it, like, obviously, I came into this not knowing anybody, so I sort of had to build those relationships at the bottom to work my way up.
Yeah,
and really, that's all it is. It's just building the relationships,
right?
Because we all know mediocre comics that can get onto a good show because they've built good relationships with the booker.
Yeah,
and that's fine. That's the way to do this business. So I have no resentment towards that.
Yeah, I do. They suck, but no. No, but sometimes, you're right. Like, I mean, there's people you're just like, oh, you're a mediocre comic who's really good at networking. Like,
hey, man, that's part of the process. And
it's
that's
part of the
I'm
process.
Not good at. I wish I
like,
had that skill.
I used to be better at networking, but now I just feel so, I don't know. Something I just feel off about just being, like lingering around and just kind of just playing goody two-shoes with a booker.
I'm not very good at lingering. I will agree with you on that.
I like hanging out, but I just I don't follow anybody on my Instagram. That's like the only social I use these days. And some people take it personally that I don't follow back. It's just like, well, no. It's like, if you want to be my friend, just give me your phone number.
Yeah. Oh, nobody does that anymore.
Yeah. No, if there's been a few headliners that are like, hey, what's your Instagram? I'd like to follow you. And then, I say, just a heads up, I'm not going to follow you back. It's nothing personal. I just don't follow anyone. And they go, oh, yeah, it's no problem. And then, like 2 weeks goes by. They send you a message just like, hey, let me next time I'm in town, I'm gonna hit you up about information for shows, not follow you. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's just that, that's
Well,
the trade-off.
it does sort of like, I don't know, in Michigan comedy, a lot of the booking is done over Facebook Messenger, which a lot of people don't use.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people won't have a conversation in Facebook Messenger. They're like, oh, no, you got to text me. And some people won't text. They're like, oh, hit me up in the Facebook Messenger, or hit me up on Instagram. It's like there's all these different ways to communicate.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own personal preference, and none of them has won out.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I do find, like, where I'm at, like, I definitely am taking, like, a hit as far as, like, volume of bookings just because I'm not as accessible to people.
that's why.
But the trade-off is, yeah, that's exactly why. But, like, I don't know. The trade-off for me is just, like, I'm pickier about the shows I want to do. Because, I don't know, I used to say yes to everything, and then there'd be days or leading up to the show, I'm just anxious and not looking forward. Because I know it's going to suck, and they're going to try to tell me, oh, it's better this time, we really changed the play. And they never do.
Yeah.
It's always, they're going to prioritize, like, bar regulars over the comics, I've done shows, like, for, like, people I'm friends with where it's like, all right, I'm booked to feature, it's like a benefit. And then I get there, they accidentally double book the features. So instead of just saying like, hey, we're sorry, either you're doing the feature spot or you're doing the feature spot. Well, how about you guys each do half the time? We'll pay you half.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, so I'm not going to get rebooked for this particular series of fundraisers for another year or two. Great.
Yeah.
And then, you go up there and you do well, but it's because you just, are mean to the crowd for 20 minutes for being terrible. And you're like, that's not fun. I remember this very particular show that I'm talking about right now. Like, while the MC's up there talking about, some announcements, I give it up for, like, the whatever charity it's for. There's a lady in the back of the room. She's 5 feet away from me. She just goes, I'm just here for the charity. I don't care about comedy.
Yeah.
And it, like, has no problem just having full-on conversations because of it. And, like, you're sitting there going, oh, you're a fake nice person because you're like, I donated to charity. I don't have to be a good person.
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't
during
even
the
care
show.
about the rest of these people who are here to enjoy it.
Yeah, so I directly quoted what she said and then walked right by her just to see her face. And then she just tried to pretend I didn't exist when I walked by because I just death stared her.
You run into that in a lot of places.
You do, and that's why I have a hard time doing, like, benefits these days. Because I just, like, it's...
I've been pretty fortunate as to, like, the number of bad shows I've done. But I was real picky and choosy at the beginning as to what shows I would do.
Yeah.
Like, I made an effort to try and meet every booker at least once.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to make a good impression on anybody just meeting them one time. And if I felt like I needed to make a second one, I would try to do that.
Yeah.
But after that, it was like, once I've met everybody, it's like, I know what shows I want to do now. And I'm not going to go chasing down shows that are an hour and a half away for a show where I might get paid, where you're not going to be real upfront about whether or not I'm getting paid at the end of the night. So
yeah, now, like, I didn't do that just because I started when I was 20. Like, if I had started now, I'm 31, like, I probably would be a lot pickier just as far as, quality over quantity. Because back then, I just did a lot of stupid things as far as I would drive 2 or 3 hours for 5 minutes just because, again, I wanted to meet everybody so I knew who I needed to talk to if I was in a city. Which I don't regret that part. You're 20, you don't really have back pain. You can eat McDonald's every night of the week and feel fine.
Well, like, I remember driving 2 hours to Grand Rapids, for instance.
Yeah.
To do, like, a 5-minute open mic, basically.
Okay.
But you're meeting the people out there who I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it's good to network that way.
Yeah, and I don't regret doing that because I got to meet a lot of people, like, by the time I was, like, 21. So just, like, everybody knew who I was in the scene. Even if they didn't know if they thought it was funny or not, they knew because my name just kept popping up on, like, posters.
Right.
And as I got older and I stopped caring about, just, like, everybody knowing who I was, I started being, less reckless with my privacy. Because I feel like I got to a certain point where I was just saying yes to everything, and then the comedy starts to suffer because you're just doing the sets, but you're not. There's no real purpose why you're doing it. You're just you're going for, like, the volume of sets.
I see a lot of people that are just starting out, trying to get their names on as many posters as possible or whatever, as many flyers.
Yeah,
which is good because that actually does pay off in the long run when, like, you've been doing comedy for a few years. And people are just used to seeing your name on posters. Even if they don't know you, they're like, okay, well, this person at least is sticking with it. Whether or not they're good at it, I have no idea. but there's at least some sort of track record that they've been doing comedy a while, and that's one way to make a name for yourself.
Oh,
but
yeah.
man, I can't go chase down terrible shows anymore. I just can't do
I mean,
it.
part of me wishes I could be as, I guess, prolific in the sense of how many sets I was doing in the first half of my 20s, because, I don't know, once, the pandemic hit, I remember very specifically reevaluating how I was going to approach comedy if we were able to do it again. And my approach was basically, I hate social media, I hate, having to do 10 sets, and I'm not going to get into specifics when I say this, but like, because you and I are the same thing, essentially. You know what I'm saying is like there is a different way we have to approach stand-up and like how we get booked. Just because I'll just say we're straight white dudes.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. It's not like I'm not going to sugarcoat it in that regard, but when there's so many of you and like there's only so many good shows and they're like, well, we're going to spread out the white guys. You're kind of just like, well, shit, I either have to be undeniable or just patiently wait my turn.
Right.
And, and you should be striving for that. I don't want to make it seem like, you should be mediocre and getting on shows. But, if you hear that enough, you're just kind of like, well, all right. So I guess I just have to do all these terrible shows and then get that one good one. And then
our friend Eric Laux, I remember when I met him way at the beginning. He was one of the very first people I met in comedy.
Yeah.
And I remember him sharing with me like how many mics he did that year and how he keeps track every year of how many mics he does. And I love that he was the kind of guy who has the stats, because I wish that I had done that from the beginning so I could keep more of my stats. But I made a conscious decision at the beginning not to count how many shows that I do, but to count how many rooms that I've worked.
Yeah.
Which to me is, it's more of a metric for me to understand, like, am I reaching out to new shows? Am I getting to new places? Am I reaching new audiences? Because I can go do New Way open mic every week if I wanted to and add that to my tally. But man, the amount of feedback I get from 10 sets at New Way doesn't equal the amount of feedback I'll get from one set at a better mic.
Yeah. I would rather do one set a month at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase than do New Way every week for
Absolutely
a month.
agree.
That's not a knock on Ball or
it's
whoever's
not.
running it.
It's
just it's 50
different
comics, none of them care.
Right. Like you need at least part of the audience there to be interested in what's going on stage.
Yeah, no, they had to have come to the comedy show on purpose.
There is a purpose for shows like that, like the show up go up open mics where it's
Those
just
are
a room
crucial.
full of
Yeah,
comedians.
you just need to cut your teeth somewhere, and you need somewhere that you can get up without there being like really guidelines.
Right.
You just kind of figure it out.
Right. And I think for both of us, we both appreciate the Blind Pig for that reason.
Yeah.
Because as a seasoned comedian, you can go up to a place like Blind Pig, treat that like an open mic, but it's still an audience that's there to watch comedy, and
most of the time
they also understand that a lot of these comics are veteran comics that are just trying to work out some new material.
Yeah, sometimes the expectations just need to be set for a room to be good, because those announcements up top where you say, hey guys, it's a free show, these are good comics, it's an open mic still, so we're going to be working on stuff, like them having the expectation of like, oh, they're figuring stuff out, as opposed to like, there's some people, because they don't do it in the announcements, and Andrew and company have since figured out how to do it, but just giving them like the guidelines as far as like, guys, if you're expecting a show, go pay for it.
Yeah.
This is free. Like, what do you expect? We're going to work on some stuff.
Well, and I think that's something that bookers could and should do for first of all, educate the audience.
You have to train an audience.
As to what's going on. And you can do that over a period of time, like what I did when I was running my show out in Dexter.
Yeah.
I trained those audience members like what a comedy show is. A lot of them had no experience with comedy.
Yeah.
Because most of them are just barfly regulars.
Yeah.
So set the expectations, let them know. But also, let the audience know what other shows are going on in the area, so that they actually know that there is a comedy scene here and it's not just this random one-off show that's happening in a bar in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we talked about this before, but I think you agreed. even open mics, I think MCs should be paid.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm of the opinion that pay everybody as much as you can all the time.
Oh, obviously,
And-
but specifically the MC at an open mic, because everybody else, like, yeah, if you're working on stuff, the trade-off is you got stage time to work on the thing so that it's good, so that you can justify getting paid for what you're saying.
Right.
Where an MC, it's like, no, you're working for an hour and a half.
And they can't go.
Yeah, and you can't go. They want you to do all these dumb announcements that really don't matter.
Right.
Like, oh, check out our drink specials. Who gives a shit?
Well, I think a good example of that is there was that show that was in Ypsilanti. I think it was at the, I don't remember the name of the bar. It was that little corner on Michigan Avenue.
In Ipsy?
In Ypsi.
Oh, Tap Room.
The Tap Room. That was a great room back in the day.
I didn't do it a ton, so I actually have...
I did it a few times when I had first started, and John Ruggiero and I think Jacob Barr were running it at the time, and that was my first ever time being paid to do comedy because they paid me to MC. And man, I was like 3 months in, so getting $25 to MC an open mic was fantastic for me.
Yeah.
It meant something, and it made me want to actually like do a good job and not just phone it in.
Yeah, first time I got paid to do stand-up was $25 to host in Port Huron, Michigan. And I think I went home... What did I do with it? I think I bought the movie Gravity on Blu-ray, and then everything else I had, I think I spent on Taco Bell.
That there's my very first job when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was a paper boy, and with my very first paycheck, I bought the album Invisible Touch by Genesis, which is how much older I am than you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 31. You're 58.
I'm not 58.
What are you, 42?
I'm 46.
46? Okay. All right, I undersold it 4 years.
Well, I don't know if there's something about the way comedians age. Does it feel like to you that almost all of us are the same age?
Maybe just because we see each other so frequently, we kind of lose sight of the fact that.
But like, I was just thinking of Matt Kahn, who's just walking up right now.
Oh yeah, I see
who
him.
is an ageless human being. Like he could be.
He is ageless.
He could be 30. He could be 67.
Yeah, he's age ambiguous.
He's age ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. That's why I wear the headphones. I'm covering mine up.
Yeah, if he showered, he's 30. If he didn't, he's 45.
I do want to get you over here, so make time for me sometime this weekend. All right. Maybe sometime this afternoon. I'll be sitting right around here.
Yeah, I could see a good scope of this lobby here. So if I see someone, I'll point them out.
Yeah, we'll get everybody over here eventually. It is funny though.
It is kind of fun though, just being like, because I started so young. It is so weird, but it's so normal to me now to have friends that range from the age of like 20 to like 65.
Yeah,
and it's just so normal.
And it's so normal, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we may have different perspectives on like which music we liked and which movies we're into, but
and which lives matter.
And which yeah. We're getting into the specific. Which specific lives?
All of them.
No, we're gonna have to edit that part out. Get canceled on episode 3.
I'm not famous enough for them to want to take that clip and turn it out of context.
No, it's okay. They like to go back in time and find the old clips.
Yeah, no, it's only if I get on SNL or
right.
I get money through anything that's not Patreon.
There you go.
Yeah,
they'll hunt you down. Oh, hey, that's right, Patreon. That's the way you got to hide everything, all the good stuff behind the Patreon.
Yeah,
wall.
behind the wall.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the Comedy Rumble, which you've been running for how long? I mean, this has been going on since before I was.
We just did our 6-year anniversary show in December. So technically, because of the pandemic, we took the last one we did was February 2020, and the first one we did back was July 2021. So it took a little over a year and like about a year and a half break.
And how many shows is that?
How many Rumbles is that?
Yeah, how many Rumbles have you done?
Wow. Honestly, probably like 30 at this point, maybe a little bit more than that. Because we've done like weird one-off ones too. It's just I wish I was more analytical with the stats as far as like.
I'm sure Eric has them.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. It's like the more I see how into stats he is, I was like, yeah, it makes sense why you and I are roommates. Dude, I don't know. Have I ever told you what my end goal would be with that show?
No.
Okay, so
Oh, we can speak it into
yeah.
existence.
Actually,
here
do you
on the
want to? You were gonna seemed like you were gonna say more about it.
No,
Then
I just
can come back
we
to
can
it.
talk about anything related to it because I do want to get into because obviously we have one tonight.
Yeah, and I'm saying you want to talk about that, and then I can explain because they don't even know what maybe don't know what the premise is.
Well, the Comedy Rumble. It sounds there's a lot of weird types of comedy shows. You've got the roast battles. You've got things like that.
Yeah.
Tell me how the Comedy Rumble is unique.
I don't even know if it's unique, really. I just took inspiration from like other like similar shows. So it's 30 comedians. They do 90 seconds each. There's a final four. We score the comedians on a scale of 1 to 5 points. The 4 highest scoring comedians all do another 90 seconds.
And who's we?
The final 4.
Who's judging?
So generally speaking, it is, if it's not me, it's 3 comedians that are either just very experienced or people who've won the show or out-of-towners who are experienced enough that they're unbiased. I don't know. It's changed a lot over the years. I'm just trying to like figure out the best way to do it. But yeah, they're the judges. They also act as warm-up acts because I've done the show without warm-up acts.
Yeah.
And, getting right into a competition, it doesn't translate as well.
It's a little hard to go up front.
Yeah, so just even having just having a 20-minute, 30-minute buffer up top just so they get really used to comedy that you can just
let the alcohol settle in.
Let it settle in. Everybody's sat down, gone to the bathroom, done everything they need to. They're they get the gist of what comedy is. They've been trained at that point. And for the most part, there's been a few instances where it seemed like they were a little, dead during the competition portion. But, like, for the most part, they're just, like, really excited. And they are more open-minded to, like, all the weirder types of stand-up that translate well on a 90-second set.
Well, 90 seconds goes real fast.
It does.
And, like, you can be on deck waiting for your turn to go up.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily true that the person in front of you is going to use all of their 90 seconds. So even that little bit of anxiety that you have before going up, you just, man, it moves so fast. It's such a frantic show. I've had the chance to do it, I think, like 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah.
And, man, it's so much fun.
It is really fun. I do think there is something to the frantic, like, nature of it, which is just about how I forget who said it. It might have been Jacob Barr. He said, this show gives me more anxiety than any other show, but he's like, I also never feel more alive because he's like, because you have to be so present because you can't dilly-dally.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like it. I'm like, I don't mind when you have like longer like sets to be able to kind of stretch your legs, but when you're just hearing like, and what else do I want to talk about? And you're just sitting there just eating up time.
Well, I can tell you the time where I feel like I did the best in that show was my opening joke got an applause break, and the applause break ruined me.
Oh, are you? Was it where you did a callback to someone else?
I did, yes.
All right. Do you want to tell this story? Or do you want me?
I want to hear how you tell it.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty straightforward. So one of my favorite things about the show is when people call back to something someone else said because it becomes like an inside joke the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So Jack Reeves, who ended up winning the show later that night, he has a joke. He's like, "Do you guys remember Beethoven, the composer, not the movie?" And then does a whole joke about it. And then Greg goes up like 15, 20 comics later, and if this audience wasn't smart, maybe they would not have remembered the callback, but he just goes, "Do you guys remember Beethoven, the movie, not the composer?" And like, I don't remember the whole joke, but there was something after it.
Well, what I really loved about it, because I first of all, I'm always trying to look for a callback, like following any opener. Anytime you can call back to something that somebody else said, it just lets the audience know that you were paying attention, and that you're present here at the show with them. And I remember like his joke had something to do with like when he was 47 years old, something or so happened.
Yeah,
and
he wrote his first.
Yeah. So a story about something that Beethoven did in his 40s, and I said, "Did you know that when Beethoven, the dog, not the composer, did you know that when he was, I have to do the math in my head, when he was 49, he was 7."
Yeah, that's what it was.
This is just a dog joke.
Yeah, and thankfully you were in front of a very educated, smart crowd and got a huge reaction.
Well, and it was, I had those like 15 or so comics to sort of like hone it in my head, get rid of all the fluff and whittle it down to only the words that mattered.
Yeah, it probably would have been funny, but probably not as gotten a bigger reaction maybe a few comics prior where you didn't have the time to kind of really make it concise. Or if you had to follow Jack and then go up there. I mean, it would have gotten a big reaction just because it was so fresh in their heads. But maybe the joke as like a polished, like, callback maybe wouldn't have been as good.
But even then, like, as hard as that callback hit, I had prepared jokes to do after that. But the applause break, like, ruined my tempo to know, like, how much time I still had left and what I was able to do. So I think I ended up bailing before my 90 seconds was up anyways.
I mean, you still did, like, a joke or two that was still relatively new of yours that was hitting. Like, the Carvana joke was really good.
That's right. I did that one also.
Yeah, I think you did one other short one.
I think I did.
Oh, the wristwatch one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I remember.
But I didn't get to the full 90 seconds, and I feel like that hurt me.
Honestly, so here's the thing. I just tell people you could do up to 90 seconds. I say, like, if you could do like a minute, at least like a minute 10 to 15, you're usually in the clear with me. If you go under a minute, that's where I start docking points. Otherwise, like, there's very clear things I look for if I'm judging. If you do under a minute, I do deduct some kind of points in some way, even if you're killing. If you say or any point where you have to look at your notes, like if you're doing like a bit where you're reading one-liners off your phone, that's fine. But like anything with or what else do I want to talk about?
I love the idea of a what else do I want to talk about in the middle of a 90 seconds.
Yeah,
where was I?
yeah, where was I?
I will say one other thing that threw me off that night is I'm used to hearing your laugh because you and I spend we're on a lot of shows together, so so I'm used to you having your laugh somewhere in the room. But Brad Wenzel was a judge that night, sitting right behind me, who's somebody I absolutely adore and admire and am intimidated by as a joke writer. So hearing him giggle behind me threw me off that night too.
Yeah. No, there is a weird element too of like, because the judges are on stage, it helps, but it is also scarier because, like they're right up on you. So it feels like, if you hear the judges laughing, you feel a little bit better. But I think it helps the show too because the audience sometimes looks at what the judges are laughing at, and sometimes the judges' enjoyment helps the audience enjoy something more because they're seeing people laugh and smile too. And I think there is something to that visual aspect that I think
and
translates.
you have a literal bell right behind our heads.
Yeah.
You're just waiting to whack that bell.
Oh yeah, it's fun, and some people play up the bell, like they'll do like a minute and like 15, and then they'll just kind of like look at me. And then just patiently wait, and then and sometimes it's fun, and then sometimes they'll just kind of be like, and then just there's like little things that become like unique experiences for the show, and that's kind of been something that I've grown to appreciate with time. So.
Let's talk to the aspiring comedy rumblists.
Okay.
They're trying to close the doors. I think we're making too much noise.
Okay.
I think it might be Deanna.
Oh, my lovely girlfriend.
She's sick of hearing your voice.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the aspiring comedy rumblers. What does it take to win?
So it's hard for me to tell people a strategy because, so many different styles and what have you.
I'm just looking for strategy myself.
Yeah,
I have to prepare for tonight.
It's weird because, like, I would say, like, in the earlier editions of the show, what seemed to always work was just, like, I mean, like, tight joke writing is a must, but, like, I've always noticed, too, like, dirtier material, like, in terms of just, like, because it is, like, a shock value reaction a little bit, but you get a big pop when you usually say something dirtier because they just don't anticipate it nearly as much. Like, there's a lot of really good comics who are incredible joke writers, but some of their stuff is, like, really subtle or just really dry. So you get like a reaction, but it's like a delayed one sometimes. But, usually the dirtier and more, accessible something is, if you can combine those two things, those are usually the people who win or at least are finalists.
Right. I wish I had you do this. What's the trophy? There's a trophy at the end of this.
Oh, there's a championship belt.
There's a championship belt. I saw it. I think it's in that room over there.
Yeah, it is.
Man, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Sort of playing in that whole wrestling aspect of the Rumble.
Yeah, no, I love being able to hand out a championship belt because I just know, having done it before, it's just like, every comic who's won one has like walked around with it. Like,
right.
It's just visually hysterical.
Because it's physically hysterical, but it's also like, man, that's an item that you can be proud of winning.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's not just
that's something to put up on the mantle.
Flimsy nothing.
Yeah.
I might even go so far as to say it's even better than a cash prize to some people.
Oh, I do too, and I might start. It's tough because I try to pay really well for the winners.
Sure.
But I'm also like, do you ever do that thing where you get worried you're paying people a little too well, where you should be like trying to like hoard money a little bit, not for your like own selfish like reasons, but I'm saying is like, I'm saying more in the sense of like reinvesting. You know, if you pay them slightly less, you can reinvest some of that money into the show to make it bigger and better.
Yeah.
I think I need to start doing that a little bit better. Like I sometimes pay a little, because like so many shows pay poorly. I try to like, you know, overcompensate in the opposite direction.
It's the business aspect of comedy,
yeah,
Bret.
I'm trying to find the right balance of like paying well, but also making sure I can, you know, invest that money into making the show better and doing it in bigger places, or, you know.
So you have the Rumble here in Traverse City.
Yep.
When's the next one after that?
The next one after that, Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, February 28th.
February 28th. That's at Treetown Comedy
Comedy Festival, yeah. And stacked lineup. Very excited for it.
I'm always excited. I get to as many as I can. And what else do you have coming up on
Just
your
show-wise?
personal schedule? Yeah, you have anything
On my festival schedule?
Well, we can. What do you have here?
Well, I got Comedy Rumble tonight. I'm hosting for Chad and JT, who I'm not very familiar with.
I'm not familiar with Chad and JT.
Yeah, they have a podcast, and they did something on Netflix.
Okay.
Like, they seem like nice enough guys. My girlfriend met one of them yesterday and said he seemed like a pretty normal dude.
That's
she didn't
good.
even know he was a comic.
I
He was
like
just a
when
nice guy.
the headliners hang out at the festival.
Yeah, that's very cool, especially when sometimes you meet one and you don't even know it's one of the headliners, and you're just kind of like, oh, you're just a cool dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. But yeah, that's tonight and tomorrow, and then I don't know. I don't have too much stuff going on in February. We're kind of just really trying to get ready for the festival for Treetown.
Treetown Comedy Fest. Are you involved in that festival at all, other than being a producer of that show?
I mean, I'm performing, but
no,
I'm
second
helping
year for that
produce
festival
it.
too.
So like the only things I'm mostly involved with making sure Comedy Rumble sells out, because we get a very good door deal for that. So like, you know, I'm not making money from that show personally.
Right.
So where, you know, I get, you know, some slack is like I can hyper focus advertising that, which I already do. Because, like, you know, the other producers are like, well, it's nice to have money for the fest, so they're not going to tell me I can't do that. Because, like, their job is basically making sure everything else is, you know, filling up, selling out. And I'm going to help with advertising that, obviously. I'm just going to prioritize my show. But,
you have to do what you have to do.
yeah. But, yeah, no, that's going to be a good festival. We got 3 headliners at Blind Pig that, you know, all cater to a certain demographic. But
he's trying to weasel his way onto another episode of Lou Michael.
Classic Lou Michael. But and then we got Phil Hanley doing 3 shows for us at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase.
That'll be a lot of fun.
And I'm very proud.
Phil's really funny.
Yeah, no, he was. We tried to get. I could say it now. We were trying to get Maria Bamford. For whatever reason, we couldn't make that work. I think she was available. I think they just didn't want to charge what she needed to at a club.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think we had access to like a theater
No, I don't think there's
situation.
any reason. Like the lineups of comedians you did get were fantastic. So
Yeah.
it should be a great festival.
And I can
also.
say I was the one who recommended Phil. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, take a little win on that.
I'll take a win on that. And he's blowing up on Instagram right now, so hopefully those shows sell out.
So I do. I end every episode this way because the show's called "I'm Glad You're Here."
Mm-hmm.
So you can say it into the camera. You can say it to me. You can say it however you'd like. You can do a special voice. You can, I don't know, use your acting chops to say it however you'd like. But we end every show with the guest saying, "I'm glad you're here."
Greg, I'm glad you're here, man.
Thank you so much, Bret Hayden.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a great weekend. You too.